Remember when you asked me what I wanted when I first moved to Metropolis?
Yeah, sure I do.
I said that I wanted to meet someone, settle down, raise a family. Well, I know now that Lois is the woman that I want to spend the rest of my life with.
Are you just now figuring that out?
It's the early 90s. Superman is considered lame, so what do? You make a mainstream rom-com show built around a will-they-won't-they dynamic.
Kent and Lane. Lane and Kent.
Neither.
Clark Kent is a 27-year-old who just moved to Metropolis, but against what you usually expect, instead of being bumbling, he's a handsome, confident professional reporter who's just as desirable as Superman.
Didn't bother to read the sign.
So now Lois Lane is put into the constant, doubly awkward position of always wanting Superman's attention, but is stuck with this other guy who's always getting other women's attention or being mistaken as her boyfriend.
Oh, really? Completely professional, huh?
No, we're not. Not.
It's pretty ludicrous she can't see they're the same person, but I guess canonically Clark Kent and Superman are friends.
My uniforms were hanging in his closet because he was kind enough to clean them for me. I'm not Clark Kent. He's just a friend of mine, that's all. I don't have a washing machine.
Whatever you say, dude.
Something changing your mind.
I'll just put on a robe.
Unless it's lined with lead, Lois. That's a waste of time.
Lois and Clark is a very, very silly show. The effects have aged beyond poorly. The costume is a bit shit, because the shininess, the large wrinkly S-shield, and the big-ass cape completely throws off Dean Cain's entire bodily proportions, so now his head ends up looking really big all the time. Furthermore, let's just say the show's sensibilities really makes it a real artifact of the 90s. Like, characters can just straight up reference sex.
You can be my sex slave.
Kill me.
But Superman is barely ever allowed to throw a punch. Instead, 9 times out of 10, he's just going to use his powers to either stop a disaster or for a goofy, mundane sketch. So tonally, it runs on the same intellectual logic as a program made for very, very small children. As a result, I would argue Lois and Clark is bizarrely enough more tonally closer to the Arrowverse than Smallville, because there's just no ambition to strive towards any credibility beyond being a live-action Saturday morning cartoon. But I found something strangely profound about Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. Speaking as someone who didn't grow up with it. I mean, I had like one VHS tape as a kid, but it didn't have Laura Vandervoot in it, so it didn't leave much of an impression on me. The thing about its format as a silly rom-com with a milkable status quo is that it's immediately more suited to engage with the character through the texture of everyday mundane routines. Where Krypton was about what's before Superman's life, Smallville was the beginning, and Superman and Lois was the end, Lois and Clark is about just simply him living it. As a result, the show is able to answer what if Superman was a real person far better than something like Batman v Superman, for the reason that it can actually explain how someone who's all-powerful can be all good. It's because Superman has hobbies. He goes to the gym, he eats sweets, he enjoys good banter, he enjoys Chinese food during late-night stakeouts, and having moral deliberations over coffee. Clark's identity is crafted from the banal, but because the banal is what he enjoys, he unconsciously resists any notion of greed or godhood.
Johnny, just relax. It's cold coffee.
Instead, an uninterrupted normal life is the goal.
Your parents are really wonderful.
Maybe I want to get married and have kids, because they made it look like so much fun.
So then, Superman as an identity is a fantasy, a mask created to protect Clark's desires.
You see being Superman as your job.
However, Lois Lane of course loves Superman, not Clark Kent, because she's obsessed with the fantasy of powerful saviors who can super off her feet.
You saved my life.
For the reason that she's a workaholic with strong morals, raised by a dad who is also a workaholic with strong morals. Although this version isn't General Sam Lane, it's Dr. Sam Lane.
My father only related to cyborgs.
Therefore, Lois's long-standing attraction to Superman functions as a kind of narrative escape. Superman is the ultimate ideal of romanticized safety. Unlike her dad, he's always there, but he's also just as noble.
Write your story, the whole story, including the one you didn't write before.
The irony, though, is that Lois herself has absorbed her father's attitude regarding not giving the people who deserve attention.
I mean, haven't you ever met anyone who's so wrapped up in their work they don't have time for anyone or anything?
I know that you resent me, and you should for those times that I've let you down, but it doesn't mean I didn't care. It was because of my work.
Is this a trick question?
So she overlooks Clark, the real person she's grown to love. He's perhaps imperfect, he gets captured almost as much as her, but he also makes her feel safe and so comfortable that he becomes completely invisible in her search for a savior.
You don't want to be partnered with a hypocritical reporter who talks a good game but backs off the minute things hit too close to home.
Yes, I do.
Thus, to get Superman, she has to see Clark Kent, and to see him, she has to let go of her fantasy.
What?
You're afraid, Lois.
I'm not afraid of anything.
Yes, you are.
Season 1 presents this maturation process through her wedding with Lex Luthor, who tricked her by pretending to be a hero. His biggest action being secretly buying the Daily Planet to fuck with the finances, and then pretends like he's the one who brought and saved it.
And no layoffs!
But a series of ruptures happen. Firstly, Lex fucked it up by reorganizing people, installing his own, and censoring stories before blowing the entire planet up. Then Clark finally tells Lois he loves her, not as Superman, but as just himself with the glasses. So she's forced to confront the deeper emotional reality of their relationship. It's true romantic love, not built from a fantasy, but from experience. Her true love is not a savior, but an equal. So she must accept the power of her choice in all of this. At first, she denies it.
You're my best friend.
But moments before the wedding, she realizes the truth.
Kent.
Thankfully, Lex's crimes are busted, and then he jumps to his death. As we land into season 2, shockingly, the next stage of Lois and Clark's relationship isn't romance. Clark pulled back what he said, and Lois is just so grateful of their partnership being restored that she's alright with it.
Well, guess everything's back to normal.
Therefore, the seasonal adjustment to the rhythm of the show is the direct, gradual injection of romance, as opposed to just constant tension, which is probably why season 2 is when the show got really, really popular. And this is the part where I talk about quotidian. Yes, my favorite word, because the word quotidian refers to the ordinary, everyday routines and practices that shape human experience. Think of them as the small, often overlooked moments that structure daily life. In context with the show, the quotidian binds everything together. The show's statement about Superman is that his identity is produced through mundane routines. In universe, it's what the characters literally enjoy in their daily fictional lives.
You need any help?
Well, I think I can manage, Chief.
Oh, damn it, Kent. Tell me you need my help.
And as an American television program with a massive 22-episode seasonal order, the routine creates a format that's milkable. It's actually really clever how naturally compatible the Superman love triangle is with a workplace rom-com structure, where within the rhythms of everyday life, Lois and Clark poach moments of connection, and through sheer scope of time, the relationship gets to evolve through ordinary gestures rather than extraordinary ones. The quotidian is at the center of everything. A standout episode for me was when Clark tried to ask Lois out again, but she's also receiving flowers from this other detective guy who's currently out of town.
Jealousy is so unbecoming, don't you think?
But then Superman gets exposed to red kryptonite, making him apathetic.
I'm really an actress.
No, really?
While in the background, Perry White refused to give up his integrity in the face of Bruce Campbell. I haven't talked about the Daily Planet cast, and when I mean Daily Planet cast, I only really mean Perry and Jimmy because they stopped having Cat Grant around. Jimmy also got recasted, which I think was a good call because the original guy had a weird young Italian mobster energy. He was completely miscast.
Yeah, and I want to thank you for giving me the chance to work with you.
The new Jimmy is just an innocent kid who never gets to go, but is groomed very clearly by Perry for leadership.
Jimmy, remember when I was talking about Elvis's Kate?
Perry, who despite being this likable, lovable father figure...
Good night, sweetie. Oh, listen, Lois. Great work.
He actually neglected his wife and son with all of his work. But Perry loves his family, and he loves journalism, and he loves looking after his staff, and is a devoted believer in Superman because they're on the same page, and he represents the hope Perry is seeking.
Like you've lived most of your life without me, Jerry. Well, those days are over.
Therefore, what Superman currently lacks, Perry has an overabundance of. And this moment made me realize that this love story set in the workplace is not about escaping from every day, but a result of engaging with it.
The problem is, we didn't have a bad date.
Oh.
It was a really great date. And now I'm completely panicked and I have no idea what to do next.
Come here, honey.
Love grows not in defiance of the quotidian, but through it, through the pleasure of returning again and again to the people who make everyday life feel significant, where you're always directed to find trust and affection in the unremarkable. All the solutions in this episode are then solved by completely mundane answers. Superman overcomes red kryptonite not through a new suit, but through therapy.
I would say that it has unleashed deep feelings that you've been harboring.
And now that I am aware of them, it's up to me to figure out how to deal with them.
And Clark tells Lois the truth, that her being with this other guy does upset him, and she ends up being really affected by the truth, and they embrace.
And I realized that instead of dancing around my feelings for you, that I have to meet them head on.
All of these sort of moments add up, so by the end of the season, their relationship feels earned. Not because of a climactic gesture, but because it's all made up of these little ones. But what do you do when Lois discovers the truth? In this case, it's because Clark in Superman strokes her face the same way. For Lois, she's on the other side of the journey now, fully in tune with reality.
Did I tell you why I fell in love with Clark? Because he's real.
But in falling in love with Clark over Superman, she now struggles to connect them as one person. So she ends up having her guard up with Superman, but not with Clark.
It was easier talking to Clark.
The fantasy is a barrier to her affection with reality, while Clark had previously rejected her as Superman, because if she didn't want to be with the real him, he'd rather not be with her at all. But in being himself now, he's frustrated by her need to process it. The thing he wanted so badly is snatched away from his fingers.
I think you do.
No, I do get it, Lois. It's fine.
And it reaches the point where they question, do they even like each other?
No, I think I'll just...
He even throws the ring away, but then catches it again. What ends up saving them are two things. Advice from Jonathan and Martha Kent, which is cool, but whatever. But more importantly, it's the reliability of the quotidian that restores what was lost, because the emotional architecture of their relationship was always hung by the little things. Therefore, to make each other overcome this new shared secret means re-engaging in their everyday trust, repetitions and risks, to structure their new, even more deeply shared path, in which where Lois can help more comprehensively, like when she takes the initiative to defuse a bomb that recognized Clark as Superman. It's a moment which proves to each other that their love can evolve from their situation into something more durable and self-sustaining. However, unfortunately, the wedding arc is absolutely f***ing nonsense. Firstly, all the pre-wedding hotel bookings are gone because of the president.
Hated that story you and Clark Kent did on my tax increase proposal.
Rehearsal dinners cancelled because all the restaurants are also booked up, so they have to have pizza at home. The wedding cake is smashed, Lucy Lane can't appear, and the Reverend is missing. But thankfully, Perry is ordained, so he's gonna officiate it himself. Superman is a god, and his wedding was the subject to every conceivable mess. However, it was the little things they continue to enjoy during all of it. The wedding itself goes well, but on their honeymoon, Lois is revealed to be a fucking clone, bitches! So they don't fuck, which makes Clark immediately anxious over how if marriage has actually immediately taken the spark away, while Lex has to real Lois and starts unbuttoning her clothes. What the fuck? Clone Lois discovers Clark is Superman, so she defies Lex for this new perfect life, while real Lois gets amnesia, which leads to her thinking she's her own fictional novel character, Wanda Detroit, a bar singer. By the way, Bibbo Bibowski makes his cameo here. Lex beats Superman to her, then Clone Lois has a short lifespan, the Kents get kidnapped, and Lex has to let the real Lois go to save her. What the fuck is going on?
What's your name?
The series, which once emphasized how real romance is not defined by spectacle but through the persistence of small emotional rituals that endure through crisis, is now turned into a goofy soap opera because they just wanted to milk the hell out of the wedding. But what they've done now is ask for patience from an audience that is very ill prepared to give such. I can't imagine the reception went well, because on the real wedding episode later on, they even make fun of the amnesia stuff.
No.
I'm just kidding.
I wish I had amnesia. Season 4 pivots from a will they won't they format to everyday married life, which by nature is a problem because the show's energy came from fiery sexual tension. So to compensate, spice now comes from how there's a lot of straight up f***ing, from how everyone wants to fuck Lois Lane.
Don't do that.
To how every episode ends with Lois and Clark about to get it on or it's afterwards.
Excuse me, what did you just...
In fact, the entire opening New Krypton arc is kind of baffling in this aspect because they built a giant political story out of straight up fucking.
I mean, look at me. I'm on a leash.
Superman is put into an arranged marriage with Zara to save their people. It's literally inscribed onto his baby shuttle in this version.
Just as only your united lives will keep strong the dream of a peaceful Krypton.
Subsequently, where Clark was raised by warm and passionate humans, his Kryptonian counterparts are cold and scientific.
On New Krypton, we'd choose whatever was expedient, and we'd take a more pragmatic view.
However, there are also a bunch of perverts too, who have concubines, and the entire marriage is a form of sexualized diplomacy. The bad guy, not General Zod, wants to fuck Zara.
Kiss me, my pet.
Superman and Zara have to fuck. If they don't fuck, it's a crime.
Diluting the bloodline and ending the culture.
But they both love someone else, so they agree to save their virginity for their true loves.
You saved yourself for her.
In the end, Superman is on trial for not fucking Zara and gets punished for it in fact, but he gets out of it by trial by combat, where the US military accidentally gasses everyone, but somehow Superman survived.
They saved your life by absorbing most of the gas with their bodies.
I don't mean to use this arc as representative of the entire season because the story is ultimately self-contained, but it's an interesting case study of the sheer friction between appealing to the viewer's horniness while also retaining a strong 1990s PG attitude. In 2025, you can just feel how the show had overstayed what it was planned to be because the fundamental rom-com framework had reached its limit. There's a reason why rom-com films are only 90 minutes. The promise of the future is more alluring than actually living it.
Watch it. I'm his favorite concubine.
The show is still perfectly viewable. I like these characters, I like this world, the central routine is still there. Perhaps the romantic suspense that flavor the quotidian isn't there, but the quotidian itself still is. And in the absence of a 5th season, it's what gives the show a sense of absolution. The show was cancelled just as the show was about to arrive at a new stage in their relationship. Lois and Clark wants a baby, but their biology is not compatible in this version.
Every time we make love, we make love.
It's kind of wild because Superman and Lois just having a baby now is just something you can take for granted. But the mood is incredibly low. So first, they tell Sam Lane so he can work on a cure, while also they consider the adoption process.
You gave him a 97 and you gave me a 19 and...
Mild spectacle also ensues as Superman defeats Ballsack Man.
Is it my imagination or is your head bigger?
Which is weird because they had Lex Luthor's son as a one-off villain, but the finale is with this fucking guy. After he's beat, Lois and Clark, once again as you expect, fuck and talk about how a child is brought up with love, and they can definitely do that. But then the baby is left for them. A mysterious baby.
This child belongs to you.
The Lanes and Kents meet this child, and we fade to black. It's kind of poetic. Superman's story started with an adoption, and in this show's chapter, it ends with him adopting someone else. A promised, unnameable future is here, and we let the characters leave us for it. And I feel like that's okay. I'd rather feel that what-if romantic suspense one more time.
This is exactly why I hate partnerships.
Why?
Because your partner is always there for you, whether you want them or not. Because your partner is there to share your troubles. Well, I don't feel like sharing. I mean, I love you. Like a brother. Not to mention, he asked me to marry him.
Will you marry me?
Who's asking? Clark? Or Superman?
Well, one thing's for sure, nobody's gonna be looking at your face.
Mom? Sometimes the fate of the whole world depends on the things that I do, or the choices that I make, so yes.
Nothing.
This worries me.
Clark, there's a greater truth to protect here, and that's the idea of who Superman is. If you tell him that you're married, that you have feelings and desires like everybody else, then that image of a hero is shattered. It's gone.
Lying, especially for Superman, should never be an option.
I was landing this plane in Paris, and I heard about this mudslide in Brazil, and I tried to get there as fast as I could.
I'm frustrated because I'm the strongest man in the world, and everything feels like it's spiraling out of my control, and that just makes me mad.
People need to believe in that mythic truth. That is what Superman is all about, and that is what you should protect above all else.
And what did I do wrong? How come I couldn't get there faster? And why did all those people have to...
No matter how strong you are, no matter how fast, sometimes it just isn't enough. Because even in this cynical world, somebody has to stand for integrity. And you have to accept that.
But what makes me a good reporter is that I don't accept things. And I'm always questioning, and I'm never satisfied. And I'm never going to be satisfied with getting there 5 seconds too late.
And if that's what I say I stand for, then I have to mean it.
Lois and Clark came after the Christopher Reeve movies crashed and burned, but before Smallville, when technology could actually catch up with casually depicting its superpowers. So the show is often remembered as this weird middle child. However, watching it now, I gotta say, there's an ageless charm and personality to it.
I have no idea where we are, Olsen. I just...
Because it's clearly not made on a conveyor belt or by people who don't care about Superman. It is exactly what it sets out to be. A joyful remix of these iconic characters, but through the format of a rom-com. And because there's so much joy and sincerity to it, it actually went very, very deep with these characters.
I was an outsider there, incomplete, until I met her.
Both Terry Hatcher and Dean Cain has developed a fascinating Schrodinger's reputation, where both seem to be nostalgically well loved by fans and seem to be lovely people at cons.
Exactly. Make it a good one. Here you go.
Oh my god, I'm shaking all over. I'm so excited.
Oh,
no.
We're kidding.
But at the same time, one has a reputation for being a massive diva.
So there were times where I felt like, I don't think she wants to go home because she's worried about this one little thing that has nothing to do with what we're doing.
And the other is a Trump supporter. In terms of my opinion, I like their performances, with the caveat that I don't really see them as Clark and Lois. They are distinctly rom-com versions of them that borders more in the territory of parody than sincere, like their caricatures in an SNL sketch.
Must be great being married to the Man of Steel, huh?
That's not an insult, because by bordering on parody, there's ironically more mileage in going deeper dramatically and psychologically, because it can address just about everything. It allows building a bond not shaped by Superman's mythic stature, but through the everyday and improvisational moments. The best way to show off how unique and special Superman is ironically not by putting him in scenarios where he's always so important and powerful. That's great and all, but he truly shines the most when you depict him as someone who sees the importance of unimportant actions. It's why All-Star Superman is the best Superman comic. That structure of following him for a full year is what makes that story so special. It's why Superman tends to thrive on television more than films. Lois and Clark arrives at something truly unique and special with its goofy format, because it uses the banal to reveal Superman not as an exception to the routines of every day, but as someone deeply formed within it. So that was the Lois and Clark video, which was supposed to be just a fun sort of, you know, like just me talking about the show. It didn't really have much to it. But then it ended up actually becoming like a rather deep analysis that I really got involved into in regards to the quotidian. So I actually had a lot to say. The video ballooned, but I also actively didn't want the video to be like 40 minutes long because I wanted it to be out within a week. Anyway, this video, next to Krypton, and the following Superman and Lois video are designed to be part of a trilogy where we follow Superman's televised birth, life, and death. The goal is that the Superman and Lois video will address the points made in these two videos while also revisiting what I've said in the previous individual seasons videos that I did. So look forward to that. This Superman month has been completely disastrous because I only got 2 videos out. What a joke! Anyways, special thanks to everyone on Patreon. I will be whispering the best of you, your names in the next video. Thank you. Haha.
Well, at least the people will know the truth.
Wow.
Yeah.